Ladies and gentlemen, I am done God of War, and I'm very sad about it because it was an amazing game. And I honestly felt like I put about 30 hours into it. And looking back, I feel like I only put like 5 hours into it. Like, it feels like there could have been so much more. And we did so much in that game, but it felt in so little time. And today, I'm doing a review on it. We're going to be looking at three main categories: the gameplay, the presentation of the game, and the overall impact it had. So stick around, it's going to get good. This is going to be a good review. Let's jump right into it. First thing I want to talk about on this game. Coming into this game, God of War, I wasn't that hyped because I've never played a God of War before this, I wasn't too big on it on the PS3. In fact, I've never played it, so I can't say I didn't like it. I can't say I did like it. This is my first God of War, obviously, and I kind of called it the Last of Us ripoff pre-game because there's no explanation as to why they would completely change around their whole franchise after the success of Last of Us. And I got people online saying, oh, you're wrong about this and all this, and I was like, okay, play the game, see how it goes. Everyone seems to like this game, so I played it, and literally 10 seconds in I started to get pissed off because after your first boss fight, there's a scene in here that is exactly like word for word with The Last of Us when Ellie kills David, and then in God of War when Kratos kills the big troll dude, and then Atreus comes up and he's like, that's what you get, right? And honestly, I thought he was joking, right? I thought Atreus was joking. I was like, yeah, I get him. But then he was actually serious. I was like, holy shit, what's wrong with this kid? I was really annoyed with Atreus the first 4 hours of this game. I thought he was the most annoying character I've ever seen in my life. He talked too much. He was really dumb. When he got his first kill, he started crying. Okay, I'm just gonna show you the comparison of the first thing I was talking about.
Boy.
Think I'm afraid of you! You're nothing to me!
Boy, look at me! Look at me, boy! Boy, look at me.
Now take that and compare it to the scene where Ellie kills David. And the scene where Ellie kills David, I can make Last of Us comparisons for decades, and Last of Us will pretty much always win. But when I came in saying this is Last of Us ripoff and told me I was wrong, this is the first thing I've seen, and then I was like, this looks exactly like when Ellie kills David, except that was even better.
You have no idea what I'm capable of. Stop!
Fucking touch me!
It's okay. It's me. Look. It's me.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and compare this game, God of War, to The Last of Us, because it would lose, and I could talk about Last of Us for hours. But instead, I'm going to talk about the good of God of War, and it's not compared to Last of Us, because it is a long stretch. This game is nothing like The Last of Us. This is just the first scene. I'm thinking, that looks exactly like the other one. But this game is nothing like Last of Us, other than a father caring for a child, and same sort of thing that you've seen a lot of games. And if there's post-apocalyptic, if there's an older, late 40s, early 50s kind of age man, he has to have a beard. That is a guaranteed now ever since The Last of Us came out. You even see it in movies nowadays. But God of War has amazing combat. It is unbelievable. Literally, when you unlock the axe cleave and you get to charge R2 to do an executioner thing, it looks so nice. And one thing I was really surprised with was how many different sequences there are, because when you do the executioner cleave, I was kind of expecting a certain animation to happen, and if there's one for each enemy, then that's good, and there was. But for each enemy, there's a different animation for if the enemy's lying down on the ground, or if it's facing forwards, or facing backwards, or facing to the side. For every single enemy, it's literally insane detail for the combat system they got. The only downside I have with the combat system is the upgrade system was extremely horrible, because I ended up saving up about 200,000 XP in the end because I found there was no point upgrading. Because, well, I upgraded Atreus' bow and everything and my rage skill, but as far as the combat system things go, I found absolutely no use in it because I would just use the talisman of, once you use up your runic, you can automatically recharge them, which I found was the most OP thing in the game. And, after you do that, you can just spam runic attacks non-stop like your specials, and there's no point of having to if you aim down sight with your axe you can target 3 different enemies and throw it like that. I'd be like, no, I'm just gonna run up and just do my special and then recharge it and do it again. So I felt like the combat system was a little weak, and I couldn't understand that because this game is so massive on a scale. It's so big, it's huge story, 30 hours long, that I can understand if they went, combat system, let's not spend the combat upgrade system, let's not spend a lot of time on that. And the only other thing that grinds my gears about this upgrade system is that it's very strict. If you want to upgrade your axe, you are literally not allowed until the story tells you to, because you need a quote-unquote frozen flame resource, and you only get that from specific moments. You can't just go on side quest and open a box and open up a chest and be like, oh, hopefully it's frozen flame. It won't happen. 100% chance won't happen. So that's my only thing with it. That was kind of really stupid. But other than that, in gameplay and whatnot, walking around, exploration is insane. I love the side quests. Literally, some of the coolest side quests I've had, like just rowing your canoe around the Lake of Nine, I think it's called. And you find the ghosts and whatnot. And there's that one mission I really liked where the guy's like, you must find the 3 bones of my wife so I can be with her in the afterlife or whatever. So you find it and you come back and his wife's this boss witch. I was like, are you kidding me? The bosses in this game are really memorable. I love the different types of enemies, especially the big troll dudes are pretty sick. And Baldur, we'll talk about Baldur more in the general impact because I find he'll be more suited for the area for how I experienced the game. He's definitely one of the coolest enemies I've ever seen in any game. But that's pretty much all it is for gameplay. Super combat, very strict leveling up, not very useful XP wise. I didn't really do any of that, but a solid 86 out of 100. We're talking pros. Love the combat system. Side missions felt useful and not like a chore, which is one of my most biggest pet peeves in games, when side missions are like a chore. Literally, get them out of here. Bosses are memorable. Cons, strict level up system, like I said. Frozen Flame, you need 1 to upgrade your axe. Oops, you literally only get them when the story tells you to, so you don't have a choice when you upgrade your axe. Ha 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 ha, take that, player. No. In all honesty though, gameplay 86 out of 100. Actually, one of the most best combat systems I've seen in a while, because most games don't really have this, combat element, but this game had a very unique one. On to the most underrated category, we got presentation coming up.
You want me to ask him?
No. Our only concern is Jotunheim.
Alright, wish me luck.
Bar none, one of the best presentations of the year. Unbelievable. This game is quite long, and there is a lot, and I mean a huge chunk of side dialogue that isn't very useful. And I'm a fan of not useful dialogue because that creates subtle character development. That's how I got to, eventually like the character of Atreus. And I can't believe how many lines that the actors had to record for the voice actors of Kratos and Atreus. It must have been I couldn't even believe having to do the job. Okay, here's your 10,000 lines. Just record them and finish whenever you want. I'd be like, oh my god. But overall, I mean, like, you just saw in the intro to this presentation, the World Serpent's voice is insane. And because it's so, like, when you're listening and you got your headphones on, you're in the moment, it's one of the coolest things to experience because this massive serpent is in front of you and you can, like, feel the power. Like, it's not real, but you swear you feel like the warmth of the breath coming off of this giant serpent against you.
I've still got it, lads.
And it's like so freaking cool. The World Serpent is one of the coolest things I've seen in games, like unbelievable. The only downside to presentation in this game is the soundtrack. You know, it has a few memorable ones, like the main one and whatnot, but other than that, there's a couple distinct ones, but for the most part, this game doesn't rely on its soundtrack in any sort of way at all, which is a little bit disappointing. I'm not saying that, you know, the soundtrack music was bad in this game. I'm just saying it wasn't over the top and it didn't, you know, rely on a soundtrack, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But I do like to enjoy, you know, a soundtrack to put on my playlist to, you know, remind me of the game. And there is certainly a soundtrack in the game that I would like to put on, but not one that I would, you know, like too much. One thing I would like to note on this game that I noticed not every game does it. I know this game had a lot of budget in AAA, but I'm still pretty excited when, you know, you put armor on, a specific type of armor. Like say you put like the fire armor on and you go into a cutscene. Your guy Kratos will have the fire armor on. It won't cut to him having the regular basic armor in the cutscene. It'll actually be a full-blown, super clean, crisp cutscene with your custom armor on. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Now, one thing this game doesn't get a lot of credit for, which I think it should because it's actually extremely underrated, is what I like to call smart dialogue. Now, you'll notice that a lot of the times it fills empty moments in the game when you're just rowing the canoe, or you're in the loading area when you're trying to travel between realms and whatnot, or just generally not doing much gameplay because you have to travel. It'll automatically start dialogue with you and your son, or Mimir will talk about stories and whatnot. And if you get off land to go and fight or grab a chest, he's like, and we'll continue this story later. Or he'd be like, boy, stories are for the boat, we'll continue when we're back, or whatever, or something like that. But I think it was extremely smart because it takes all the time that you're not doing anything and fills it with these super cool stories that you get to listen to. Here we are, 97 out of 100 for presentation. Pretty damn high pros. Smart dialogue, great voice performance. I can't believe how many lines you had to record. World Serpent's voice. Lily deserves an Oscar and an Emmy in all their words. The world looks amazing. All the realms look great. Cons, not really any standout soundtracks. You know, there wasn't an insane menu theme or a startup menu theme, or when you pause the game, nothing like that. Kind of disappointing. This is usually one of the things I look for in presentation because then it's something that stands out in it. Not for this one. Nevertheless, 97 out of 100 is nothing to go sad about. So moving on to overall impact, here we go. So there's three main things I want to talk about with general impact. One I've already talked about, but not to the full extent of it. The World Serpent is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in gaming. And there's a scene that involves it that takes me back to when in BioShock Infinite, when Elizabeth calls in Songbird.
We have to save him!
Save her! Elizabeth, stop it!
C-A-G-E! It's not a word, Booker! It's a...
You get the point. But what I'm trying to say is when you're in the middle of the fight against Baldur, and Atreus calls in the World Serpent, even though I have no idea how he decided to learn the language of the World Serpent. Somehow he knows it, but everything was going on. Like in the middle of the fight, this giant's literally just coming down on me. Freya is just coming down on me. Balder is literally, oh, he's not invincible anymore, but you know, fighting Balder is like one of the most crazy things to do in this game. And then literally all of a sudden Atreus says, I got a plan, and he calls in the World Serpent, and it's like coming. I was jumping out of my seat. I couldn't even believe what was happening. This is one of the coolest scenes I've seen in gaming in a long time.
Look! I have an idea!
Boy? Well done, boy.
Now, the one other thing I want to talk about in Journal Factors here is the story. I'm not sure if it was good or bad, because I feel like it's really Swiss cheesy. It has a lot of holes in it because, and I mean not like plot holes, but like loose ends. I feel like there's really setting up for God of War 2 and probably 3 and whatnot. But like literally the game ends with, oh hey dad, why is my name Loki on these? And then it like ends, there's a rolls credit. I was like, are you kidding me? There's gonna be no explanation? Like we're not gonna find out more? And you know, one thing else that bothers me is what happened to the voices he heard? I'm pretty sure it's gonna be explained in number 2, or you know, drawn out more. But there's a part where he's like, oh no, I'm hearing voices, and then Chris is like, oh, whatever, he said some dad joke. And then I think we talk about it one more time where Chris was like, if you hear voices, tell me again. And then he doesn't. And I'm not sure if the voices were there just because of the fact that he thought he was mortal when he was actually a god. Not sure. It never explains it. Now, that thing is really annoying to me. I just feel like it left such on a loose end that it kind of really annoys me a lot. Now, another thing about General Impact is Valkyries. Now, Valkyries are bosses. There's 8 of them throughout the whole world, and I want to say right now, I hate Valkyries with passion. I only defeated one, and it took me like 100 tries. This is not a joke. I hate Valkyries so freaking much. It's not even a joke. If I see Valkyries in God of War 2, I will lose my shit. I will write the company themselves. I don't know why. I'm a pretty good gamer. I'm pretty good at things. I cannot fight Valkyries no matter what. This is my nightmare. This is why I don't play Dark Souls. I hate Valkyries with everything in my life. If they're coming back, I'm going to quit life right now. I'm telling you. But that leads me into my last thing I want to talk about before I give the score for this game. The combat for this game was one of the best combat systems I've seen in a long time. This game was extremely fun to play, especially the combat. There's something about this game that just made me want to play for like 3 or 4 hours at a time. Because I would be playing and I'm like, well, I could do some Black Ops 4, I could do some NHL, I could do Dead by Daylight. But I would just play like another hour or 2 of God of War because I wanted to know the story. I wanted to get in more combat fights. It's just an overall one of the funnest games I've played of the year. Lighting in at a solid 90 out of 100 pros. We got very fun and addictive, memorable combat, great characters. I really felt like Atreus was horrible in the first few hours. Really grew to like him after that. Would love to have a World Serpent figurine. That would be pretty freaking sick. Cons, loose end story. Not a fan of. Hey, why am I Loki? And then, oh, roll credits. Goodbye. Goodbye. See you next time. Like, no, come back. So that's my only grip with the game. You know, overall, General Impact, we'll have to see where it lands in my top 7 games of the year. It'll be an interesting one. It's right up there with Detroit Become Human, Tomb Raider, and a couple other ones, surprisingly. But overall, crunch all the numbers down, we get a solid 9.1 out of 10 for God of War, which is ironically, I think, if I remember correctly, the exact same score I gave Shadow Tomb Raider, which is crazy because usually I don't give games too high a rating. It takes a lot to get it takes a lot to even get like a 7 or an 8 for me. 9.1 is extremely high, and yeah. So, 9.1 out of 10, do you think it should be higher, lower, or am I just in the right? And For sticking around for this whole long review, trying to break down a 30-hour game to 20 minutes is pretty hard. I'm a little over budget, but for sticking around till the end, you will get a bonus clip of me taking on a bunch of trolls. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. Comment down below. Peace.
What? Holy shit. Okay. Dead! Knew there'd be some big guys in fucking 50. Final 5.
I'm not ready.
Holy shit!
Found the healing stuff.
Wait, sorry. Oh my god.
Thank you guys for watching and sticking in till the end. You guys are the MVP. Comment your thoughts down below. I actually really do want to hear the voice and opinion of the people. Subscribe for more content. There will always be more videos I'm putting out. I love making videos. Hopefully you'll be here for next time. Dark Views signing out. Peace.